Hi, I'm Tyler Hodgkinson, and if you're anything like me, you like video games. Maybe a little too much. But there's no denying the medium's ability to be a vehicle for thought-provoking and downright stupid fun experiences. I've been a working journalist in the video game industry for quite some time, and I know there's always a story to be told. On Digital Circus, you'll find those tales in addition to in-depth interviews, reviews, and much more. On today's show, we've got highlights from Canada's premier comic convention, Fan Expo, the first installment of Video Game Movie Club, and other goodies. But first, here's my review of the Microsoft exclusive Cuphead.
If you hadn't heard yet, Cuphead is really hard. I mean, really hard. You'll want to scream your lungs out and smash all your ceramics in your kitchen. But don't get too crazy too soon, because that's only after the first level. With that said, at no point do you feel that the game's difficult nature is cheating you. It's perfectly paired with old school visuals, making Cuphead nostalgic, frustrating, and comforting all at the same time. So lift your meat hooks and get ready for a squabble, as Studio MDHR's highly anticipated title brings much needed challenge and charm to the saturated platformer genre. Announced at E3 2014, the Microsoft exclusive wowed critics and consumers alike with its hand-drawn 1930s cartoon animation. Even from day one, the look has been true to that era, and the final product feels like a wonderful homage to the golden age of cartoons. Cuphead himself is drawn simple and elegant, and the many supporting characters have distinctive looks that are both memorable and familiar. My personal favorite is Cycarrot, an early boss in the Botanic Panic section. The large vegetable helps set the tone and style carried throughout the entire experience. Similar to the visuals, Cuphead's story is also in line with something that would come out of the 1930s. The titular character and his chum Mugman stumble upon a casino, only to lose a bet with the devil himself. To repay their debts, the two must set out on a journey through various areas to retrieve the souls of others who also are in deep with the demon. The world is full of colorful characters, including the wisdom-filled Elder Kettle and evil King Dice, making the narrative less about Cuphead's early misfortune and more about the world itself. Yes, the story and aesthetic of the game are major selling points, but the gameplay may be its most noteworthy element. Cuphead puts an emphasis on offering a variety of stages throughout each world. Some levels are traditional run-and-gun romps, while others see the emphatic character piloting a plane through bullet hell. There's a wealth of continuous boss battles, all of which will test your patience, just like the more traditional platforming levels. These sections are long and will require a lot of focus, but thankfully, there is a simple mode that helps you warm up to the challenge. You're unable to collect the soul of the boss on the easier difficulty, but it is a great confidence booster. Thankfully, you don't have to go about this journey alone. The game has local co-op, with player 1 controlling Cuphead and player 2 becoming Mugman. There's power in numbers, however, the screen does become more chaotic when playing with a pal. The swinging pendulum of difficulty and where it comes from adds to the uniqueness of this title. Oh, and pro tip, don't forget to parry. When you double jump on pink objects, you collect more power for special attacks. While going out of your way to accomplish this task may result in the loss of much needed health, it's important to parry whenever convenient. It's also integral you visit shops to purchase upgrades to progress in the game. Levels and bosses will become easier when paired with appropriate modifications, whether it be an extra heart or an invisibility dash. Trusty merchant pork rinds can be found throughout each world, but will sometimes need to be unlocked by completing a boss or level. And what would a 1930s cartoon be without big band swing music? Composed by Christopher Madigan, the OST is melodic and memorable. From the barbershop quartet-styled title song to each and every boss battle, the often chaotic score is nothing short of perfection. In fact, as of this recording, the original soundtrack is climbing the Billboard jazz charts and currently sitting at number 9. Madigan's contribution adds tension, triumph, and sometimes serenity to the already emotionally charged experience. Cuphead is a once-in-a-lifetime game that delivers a heavy dose of nostalgia, all while creating something new. The colorful aesthetic sucks you in, while the gameplay keeps you playing for hours on end. The difficulty of the game is off the charts, but it's the dichotomy between the visuals and challenge that makes Cuphead a late contender for Game of the Year.
Hey, you're back. Or you're just joining us. Either way, you're watching Digital Circus. Earlier this year, I got the chance to attend Toronto's biggest nerd extravaganza, Fan Expo. And although it celebrates all of pop culture, I went straight to the video game area in the South Hall. Here's some highlights. This is the moment I've been waiting for. The moment I've been training for my whole life. This is the ARMS tournament, and I'm ready to kick some new butt. So this is real. I really lost. I don't know how to go on, what to do with the rest of my life. I guess the only thing I can do is train some more, come back next year, and kick some new butt. Hello and welcome to a segment we like to call Video Game Movie Club. Myself and a select panel will discuss video game adaptations and realistically why we probably dislike them. On today's show is pal, film critic, and host of Cinema Scene, Eric Marchin. Also joining us is great guy and Twitch streamer, Peter Perlito. Thanks for joining me.
No problem.
Thank you for having us. Can I keep the mug afterwards?
You can't keep the mug, but we'll find something for you.
Well, you know what?
Maybe
I'm going home now, and I'm going to play Cross Country Canada on the PC.
Do you think that'd make a good movie?
Yes, absolutely. What are you talking about?
Who would be in the lead role?
The lead?
Clint Eastwood.
Ooh.
James Belushi.
Like,
No.
Yes, he's killing it on Twin Peaks: The Return. Come on.
It's true. It's true.
He's so good.
Good point.
I'm the host of this show, and I decide who is going to be the lead. So obviously, video game adaptations have been a little rocky. Peter, as a video game fan, have there been any that you've really enjoyed?
Well, a guilty pleasure for me is the Warcraft movie. I've loved the Warcraft franchise from the beginning to now. Horrible acting, but it's nice to be in the world. And Doom is one of my other kind of, for just the 5-minute first-person scene with Carl Urban, my man crush. So
Yeah.
it's good.
Dread, please.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
And I mean, you mentioned Warcraft. We should also say that, you know, you have someone like Duncan Jones who directed that movie, who also directed Moon and Source Code, who's no slouch. I mean, he's one of those guys that is inventive and knows really how to make a world and kind of build upon it. And if he couldn't actually, you know, sell an audience that maybe hasn't played it, because I'm one of those people that has never played a video game past N64. I had PlayStation 2 for a couple of weeks, and for the most part I used it as a DVD player afterwards. That's how uninterested I am in video games. So I don't even know why I'm on this show. But specifically as video game adaptations, I couldn't really think of anything outside of documentaries about making video games that I would recommend. I mean, King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters, and Indie Game the Movie are two films that I would highly recommend that people check out, especially about just the passion and anger and stress that goes into making video games, like Super Meat Boy, and the obsession of getting that high score and being somebody with the Donkey Kong game. And Billy Mitchell is one of those guys that's a perfect subject for being an antagonist.
As a film critic, why do you think no film has been able to break this threshold?
I think part of it is, you're immersed in it because you are playing it. You are a part of the world building. You are a part of the story. You're going on adventures with Drake from Uncharted, and you're actually having those experiences where I think, watching it on the big screen as a film adaptation, you're experiencing somebody else's version of it, and you have to go along with them. And that's basically like sitting on a couch and watching somebody play and just sitting there being miserable. And that's my opinion, obviously, but that's how I sometimes feel with the adaptations, because for the most part, they're genre-oriented. They play to fans who like, whether it be the Resident Evil movies with zombie films or Doom, sci-fi thrillers, that kind of thing.
Now, Peter, as a video game fan, are there any games that you've played recently or throughout your life that you think could really work as a movie?
Well, I would have to say I recently finished playing Lord of the Rings: Shadow of Mordor. That was a great game, great story to be told through. I don't know where it fits in the Lord of the Rings timeline, but I would love to see like a movie like that. It was like Assassin's Creed meets J.R.R. Tolkien. It was great.
Yeah, it's definitely, I honestly don't know where it fits in, if it's a completely new adventure.
It is. I think it's before Frodo and the ring just recently got lost kind of thing. Gollum's around, so it's a couple thousand years before the movie. I don't know.
And they could probably stretch it to like 5 movies.
Yeah. I mean, look what they did with the Planet of the Apes prequels.
Yeah,
Get
why
Andy
not?
Serkis back.
The Planet of the Apes were good.
They are. No. I'm just saying, Andy Serkis was in both.
Yeah, get him Gollum. Get Gollum again.
So on the Lord of the Rings note, are there any movies that you think could go the opposite side and go on to could be a great video game?
Well, I would like to say The Goonies. The Goonies would be a great, almost co-op style game where you're just trying to get to One-Eye Willie's treasure and kind of make traps for the Fratellis along the way. I think that'd be a fun game, almost like 2D style.
Yeah, like a side-scroller platformer.
Go retro with it. I think it'd be great.
Truffle Shuffle all the way.
Yeah. That's how you distract the Fratellis. That'd be great.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, hey you guys. That's actually really good. I would play that.
Yeah. Like you could co-op as Chunk and Sloth together and
eat ice cream?
Yes.
Eric, I know you're not a big video game guy. You're more of a movie guy.
Cross Country Canada.
Cross Country Canada. That's the movie you want.
Yes.
Or sorry, the video game that you... No, the movie.
The movie, yeah, absolutely, yes. No, I'd say like in terms of like a video game adaptation into a film that I would love to see maybe work is The Last of Us. I think there's a cinematic quality to it. Sam Raimi has optioned it with his Ghost House Productions, but it's in limbo right now. But you are seeing, in terms of genre influence on movies like the sequel to The Maze Runner and It Comes at Night, which I think is one of the most underrated films of this year. Trey Edward Schultz has even said that, he based the look of Joel Edgerton's character on the lead from The Last of Us. And it's just a classic dystopian story. I mean, people can get behind that. And unlike the Resident Evil movies, which I think are very much, playing to, the Walking Dead and zombie fans in general, I think there's more character in those two leads in The Last of Us than there are, with Alice or anybody in the Resident Evil films or in the Resident Evil video games. But again, not being the biggest video game fan or what have you, I mean, there's not a lot I can think of other than, Cross Country Canada or Clay Fighters. So, you're going to have to go with those.
Clay Fighters actually might happen.
Well,
I could actually see that happening.
I would love to see an Earthworm Jim movie. And I'm surprised someone like James Gunn has never even decided to maybe option that or produce it because, I mean, not just Guardians, but you look at Slither as well.
Right. And if you look at the recent trend with Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper movie coming out soon,
Are we talking animated now?
Animated.
But
If we
they
did it-
didn't do that well. That's the other thing. I mean, the animated versions didn't have that.
Of course
impact.
they didn't, but I think that there's the opportunity for a film like that to really flourish.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a Pixar or something like that behind it, but then you even look at, Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, Wreck-It Ralph isn't technically a video game movie into itself, but it has the kind of Who Framed Roger Rabbit concept where you have other video games coming into that world. So there is an interest there. And again, I think that it's one of those situations where we're still waiting on that one good video game adaptation. And there's a number that are coming out. I mean, we talked about Doom, and I think, with Rampage, maybe that'll be it. Maybe it'll be, Tomb Raider with Alicia Vikander. The Division has been optioned by Jake Gyllenhaal's production company.
Ooh, I don't know about that one.
Which one?
But the
All of them?
Division. The Division.
The Division?
I like the new Tomb Raider, to be honest. But I mean, on your point of Wreck-It Ralph having almost a Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you could also have its evil nemesis on the other side, which was Adam Sandler's Pixels.
Right.
Which
You are an evil man. Even mentioning that. That's like, you're Wario in this situation.
Wah.
Well, on that note, I want to give Peter an opportunity to speak to Carl Urban, and I know you have a few words for him.
Yeah, of course.
Which
Which
We're
camera?
gonna look at
Camera one right
we're gonna
there.
look at this camera right here.
hey,
Oh, we're looking at
this one
camera
here.
two.
Hey, Carl, give me a call, man. It's been a while. You still owe me that $350, but next let's meet up for dinner. Let's talk about it, okay? I loved you in Judge Dredd, and I still love you. All right, bye.
Can I have a moment on camera as well?
No.
Just one moment, quick
No,
moment.
no,
Cross country
no,
Canada.
no.
Keep on trucking.
Toot toot.
That's it. That's all I got.
Let's go.
Let me take you on an 8-bit trip into a past life so vivid, feels like it was last night. 5 buttons, 2 hands, 1 choice, the red or the blue man. And let me tell you, these guys were bristled, so skilled they could jump and fire missiles. It was the 90s, I was the perfect target for Narc, a somewhat obscure cartridge. Spent the summer perfecting my thumb muscles on a steady diet of lime pop and some ruffles. The combo that take me to the top of cleaning up the streets with 2 insane cops. Wage a war on drugs, I'll see you bet, with the right amount of chip grease and sweat. 1 TV set and a goal to die for. Get the first Narc Nintendo Power High score.
I was into video games, and in the darkness I'm heartless like when the Narcs. I was into video games, and in the darkness I'm heartless like when the Narcs.
It's all true, tell your friends, yo.
I was into video games,
I'm not a narc, I just played one on Nintendo.
and in the darkness I'm heartless like when the
Nintendo
Narcs.
Power was the Bible for video games, and if you got a high score, it listed your name. Infinite fame awaited. All I had to do was blow up some drug dealers with bazookas. It's true, cuz I made a plan. Stop playing Final Fantasy, Mega Man, Metroid, Castlevania, Contra, and committed to confiscating contraband. Driving a Porsche, getting caught up in the fringes, gunning down hustlers, dodging syringes. The mission and task, dude, was to blast through pushers and pimps who were trying to flash you. Who approved this for kids? Take a guess. Grand Theft Auto on NES, but yes, 929,900. I won it, not too shabby for one kid.
I was into video games, and in the darkness I'm heartless like when the Narcs. I was into video games, when the Narcs hit. I was into video games, and in the darkness I'm heartless like when the Narcs. I was into video games, and in the darkness I'm heartless like when the
Had
Narcs.
the narc high score, now I had to capture it. Lights out, no flash, how you had to snap a pic. Used my mom's cam, it wasn't digital. Had to take pictures until the film was full. Got it developed at the Shoppers Drug Mart. 3 days to get them back, that was the tough part. 24 photos for all my troubles, only one turned out. Glad I got doubles. Off to the judges, popped it in the mail with a wish and a prayer my envelope wouldn't fail. Then waited, was my mission in vain? Months and months passed till that issue came. Then there it was, SJ from Halifax, still got a copy to give my pals a laugh. And if I do nothing else, at least they can remember me. On page 77, volume 23. No internet, message boards or blogs. Rockets blew up everything except dogs. And most kids didn't know what the game was, but if they could read, they might know what my name was.
And in the darkness, I'm heartless like when an ox hit.
I had the narc high
I
score
was into video games.
for 1 month.
Alexis, thank you so much for chatting with us today. Can you start off by just telling us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. I'm managing the ESET's R&D center in Montreal, where we have a team of about 10 malware researchers. We do research and analysis on the latest online threats.
Okay, so what's the latest threat?
There are so many, but the one I want to talk to you about today is a threat that's actually targeting gamers, online gamers. Last month, one of our researchers in our headquarters discovered a new malware called Joao. I know it's a bit hard to pronounce.
Joao.
Yes, and it's a malware that spreads through hacked games. So people might get infected by trying to download and install these hacked games from fake gaming websites.
How does Joao infect your computer? So through the games, but is it through downloading the game?
So once you download the infected game, the game will actually run as if it was the legit game, but it will also insert a little piece of malicious code that has some bad capabilities. It can spy on your activities that you're doing on your workstation, but it can also run any type of malicious code. So it will connect back to the attacker's servers and wait for further instructions. So it theoretically could install anything on your machine.
Spy my activities. I don't know if anybody wants to see what I've been up to, but yeah, that doesn't sound like something that anybody would want. So how do you know if your computer is infected?
You actually have to look for a specific file in your game's folder under program files. You can look up our technical blog on willivesecurity.com. It's got all the information to determine if you're infected. You can also run a free online scanner tool. So ESET makes available a free scanner that will scan your whole computer and detect any potential threat that might be installed at the moment.
So is the malware affecting any specific games?
It targets, right now what we see, it installs through hacked area games, different titles from that company, but it's not really specific to that company. I mean, the bad guys will just go after what's popular these days. How
do you prevent the malware?
Well, the first advice I would like to say is to be cautious where you get your games or skins or add-ons. Try to go to the official websites of the company making the games, and be cautious about what's announced as being free. If it sounds too good to be true, or if it sounds fishy, it probably is. Mm-hmm. So that's the first step. The second step is to have a proper security product installed, whichever it is. I mean, ESET has a very good one. We even have a gaming mode. So whenever you're gaming, it will switch into the special mode that will maximize the performance, and you'll be able to play your game with the maximum quality. And second advice related to that is do not ignore your AV warnings. So if your security product tells you that you're about to visit a malicious website or to open a malicious file, it's probably because that's a malicious website or a malicious file. So don't try and shut down your protection because you really, really want the latest and greatest add-on for your game. If you get a warning, respect it and go away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. That was a lot of great info, and hopefully we can speak soon.
Absolutely.
That wraps up the very first episode of Digital Circus. We've got a lot more in store for you in the future, including developer interviews and the hottest game reviews. So make sure to check back each and every month. Big thanks to the crew and volunteers. And until next time, game on.